Good evening, citizens of the swamp, and welcome to tonight's debate between two extraordinary candidates vying to lead the Populist Party in the upcoming election. On my left, we have Darius Romney, a polar bear known for his bold ideas and unwavering commitment to protecting the swamp's natural resources. On my right, Linda Carlson, a pig whose grassroots activism and focus on community resilience have captured the hearts of many. Tonight's discussion will cover critical issues facing our nation: the struggling economy, the Lava Levy tax, the threat of an erupting volcano, immigration, inflation, and foreign relations. Each candidate will have the opportunity to present their vision, respond to one another, and most importantly, demonstrate why they deserve your support. Candidates, this is your chance to speak directly to the people. Let's begin with your opening statements. Darius Romney, you've won the coin flip, and you will begin.
Thank you and good evening, citizens of the swamp. I'm honored to stand here today as a candidate to lead the Populist Party, born from the hopes and the struggles of ordinary swamp creatures who want nothing more than a fair shot, a better life. Our nation stands at the crossroads. The economy, the faltering is the inflation, choking the families and our families, and a dangerous tax has been levied on those who are able to afford it. Meanwhile, Tamara Vank's administration spends time playing politics than solving the real problems of the swamp. As a polar bear, I have survived the harshest environments, and I know the value of resourcefulness, resilience, and community. I'm here to offer you solutions, ones that will restore dignity to our citizens, reinvigorate our economy, and secure the swamp's future for generations to come. Together, we can melt the ice of stagnation and reignite the fire of opportunity. Opportunity! Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Romney. Representative Carlson, your opening statement, please.
Thank you, and good evening, my fellow swamp creatures. Tonight, we're not just debating policies. We're fighting for the soul of the swamp. Our people are struggling under the weight of a broken system, a weak economy, rising prices, and a tax that punishes the very people who keep the nation running. Tamara Vank has failed us, and it is time for change. I come to you not as a politician, but as a proud swamp creature, a pig, who knows what it means to work hard, face adversity, and stand shoulder to shoulder with my neighbors in times of crisis. I believe in a swamp where every citizen, no matter their background, can thrive unless their background is transgender or immigrant. My vision is clear. Repeal the Lava Levy, lower costs, secure our borders, and rebuild the swamp from the ground up. Together, we can create a nation that puts people first, and animals too, should the situation allow. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Carlson. We may now move on to our first question for the evening. This one is for Darius Romney. The economy in the swamp is at its weakest point in decades. What specific steps will you take to revive it, and how will you ensure that those steps align with populist values?
Well, that's a good question, and you see, we're all standing up. You're sitting down, but what you got to do is you've got to stick with it. You've got to stick with it. And I've been very impactful on this issue. In my 73 years since I was elected to the House of Representatives, I have done many, good and bad thing, and what we gotta do is we need to work hard, and we need to work fast, and we need to work well. And when we're not working fast, hard, and well, that's when we're not working. But you've got to stick with the economy. It's very impactful, and I love the economy. I've worked on the economy many times, and that's where you gotta go, and you gotta stick with the economy, because I love the economy. So that, I hope, answers your question, Tamara. The skib.
Thank you, Mr. Romney. Mrs. Carlson, your rebuttal.
What you just heard was a rambling and incoherent mess from a maniac who believes that he can fix the economy with simple platitudes. He does not have a real plan. All he has is ideas and concepts of what you could think of might become a plan. You need to trust someone who can actually orchestrate a sentence that might be in some semblance of coherence. He is vouching for rampant deregulation through regulation. He wants to throw out DEI. That's a policy of company. How are we as the government to tell a company what sort of discriminatory policies they're not supposed to have? If we are to claim that it is discriminatory to exclusively hire blacks or Asians or whatever other minority group it may be, grizzly bears or pandas, whatever it is, you have to do something here, and I've said this all the time, is you have to deregulate their regulation of your deregulation. So we have to fix it through unfixing it. Deregulate, what he wants is to put more restrictions on our businesses. And besides that, it doesn't repair the economy in any way regardless.
Thank you, Mrs. Carlson. I'm going to have to cut you off on your rebuttal there because of our format for this debate. You will be answering our next question. Inflation has made basic necessities unaffordable to many citizens. What would you do to combat inflation without having unintended consequences for our small businesses?
Well, it's very simple. I can tell you what caused inflation in this country. The government was given handout after handout after handout in response to the pandemic. And then inflation started to rise, and they cut all of that relief because they wanted to curb spending to reduce inflation. It's a simple tactic that has resulted in devastating impacts. The bottom 50%, the bottom 65%, the people who live paycheck to paycheck, who are relying on those unemployment benefits and on the government stimulus, suddenly saw that disappear at the times when the prices were getting worse. We cannot have a nanny state that forces us to rely on the government for handouts, and then they decide to take them away from you the second things get bad for their economy. They have terrible economic policy from the Vank government, and we've seen it play out in these past 2 years with inflation. I don't need to use the rest of my time. It's just that simple. We cannot allow ourselves to fall into the hands of such frivolity as the Tamara Vank government has allowed.
Thank you, Mrs. Carlson. Mr. Romney, your rebuttal.
Well, you just heard her response. There's no more room to silly-billy around with the economy. I am not a silly Billy, but she is a silly Billy. And when you look at the science, and I don't believe in science, and it's time to end the science in our forest. I hate it, and we need to end it, and we need to bring it down, down, where the people live in the streets, and the creatures, they don't want you no more. What you gotta do is you gotta stick with it. And I've been with it, and I used to be with it, but then what was it? Change, and what was it? It's new and scary, so I stopped being with it. But you have to stay, and you have to fight, because that's what the economy wants.
Thank you, Mr. Romney. I'm going to have to cut you off there. Representative Romney, for our third question. The government-imposed tax known as the Lava Levy has sparked widespread protests. Do you support repealing this tax? If so, how will you compensate for the lost revenue?
Tamara Vank wants to put this volcano tax on you, and we need to get rid of it because we need to focus. We need to focus on the immigrants that are coming down, and the moon is watching us. The moon is watching us, and nobody's talking about this. It's dangerous. We need to stop it. We need to stop it, folks. That's what we gotta do. We gotta go. We gotta fight the moon because it's watching. And you gotta get the clouds because they're too shiny, man.
Thank you, Mr. Romney. Mrs. Carlson, your rebuttal.
As incoherent and rambling as that was, he brings up a good point in the end. Why are we levying new taxes against our citizens that is meant to curb something that is the fault of the environment? If it were the case that there were a volcano that was about to erupt, would we not want to be fighting it in a real sense and not just enforcing a brand new tax to crush people in this swamp? Really, Darius Romney and I agree on this thing. We need to axe the tax. Now, he might go on a rant about the economy and all this and the insanity and people crossing into the border and illegals and all this, but that is his obsession and he is allowed to have that. And you can ask yourself, is that the type of thing that you want your leaders to be rambling about? Or would you rather they ramble about important issues that are meaningful to you, like getting rid of this crushing volcano tax that is destroying our economy and is crushing your jobs, taking money out of your pocket for no other reason than simply because the government has gotten greedy?
Thank you, Representative Carlson. Now on to our fourth question. Critics argue that reducing taxes could worsen inequality in the swamp. How do you want to balance populist demands for tax relief while ensuring fairness and equity?
Well, Spurts, that's very simple. The taxation has gone out of control. People are paying too much in taxes, and we need to give them relief. People are struggling, and we need to cut the GST on essential items, but not as totally essential items, only things that are, a little bit out of reach for people, something that they can't afford with the GST on it and probably still won't be able to afford without it. But it's furthermore, we need to make a tax cut to billionaires so that we can let that wealth trickle down. It's insane that the government wants to put new taxes on you and enforce all of these extreme expenses, and they want to be sneaky about it. They want to put it in new places and places you can't see it, and that's just not fair to you. We will be honest and open about our tax policies as long as they're the tax policies that affect you and not billionaires, because those definitely need to be kept secret. And that's what you need. You need a strong and robust tax policy that provides relief to the people who need it and puts more money in the pockets of people who live in the swamp.
Thank you, Mrs. Carlson. Mr. Romney, your rebuttal.
She keeps suggesting that I'm not too old. But have you also considered that I'm not a woman? Because we cannot have another woman. We had our first woman, and after 20 years, look how that's working out for them in the place. But in the forest, they're the forest, in the swamp, we are gonna fight against these women. Because I'm not too old, I'm just too experienced. But you can't be too experienced, but you can care too damn much. You can.
Mr. Carlson, I'm going to cut you off there before you yell yourself into an early nap, and we're going to go to our next question. Tamara Vank's efforts to prevent the volcano from erupting have divided the nation. What is your plan to address the looming threat of an eruption while respecting the will of the people?
My teeth fell out. Help me. I can't find my teeth. Where did my teeth go?
Oh, it seems that Mr. Romney's teeth have fallen out. Let's just skip this question and go to your rebuttal, Mrs. Carlson.
Look, he's a rambling old man. He is too old to be filling this office. We agree the volcano does not exist and that levying a tax on it is simply a grab at your money, at the money of people who live in the swamp and animals. But you look at him and you have to ask yourself, if this is your main issue that you are trying to solve, do you want to go with me, someone who has experience in government, who's cut taxes before, who has worked within the forest and the swamp and other nations to try to help them curb their extreme spending so that they don't need to levy insane taxes on their citizens? Or would you like to go with the man who actually was in the House of Representatives when we made the call to pass the volcano tax and decided to not show up to the vote because he knew that in his constituency the volcano tax would in fact be popular, but decided that he would not vote on it because his party was going to vote against it? Is that the type of person that you would like to be representing you to take down the volcano tax? Someone who could not even show up to vote on it?
Thank you, Mrs. Carlson. How will you ensure the safety of the swamp citizens in the event of a volcanic eruption? Do you believe that there are more resources that should be allotted to the mitigation efforts of the volcanic eruption?
Look, if it did happen, which is very unlikely, the volcano, if it were around, probably we could appease it with a few human sacrifices if it came to that. But really, we are on the border of another nation that is friendly to us. A nation that I have a powerful relationship to. And our countries have a strong connection. The forest and the swamp are very linked. We can't have one without the other. You cannot have the filtration system towards our greater lake nations up in the north without the use of the swamp and the forest. It just doesn't work. So when you say what would happen, well, there would need to be some level of dispersion of the people. The center of the population would need to move the coast. And the people who are displaced, they have a home in the forest. And my working relationship to their leader, William Trapmonger, which has been very close, a desirable friendship for decades, has led us to have this strong working relationship. And you can trust me when I say that we are going to be working very closely with them going forwards. And if it does come to the point where we need to issue evacuations from the swamp, then we have a home there. And I plan to rebuild our relationships that Tamara Vank has frankly been neglecting. And she's attacked William Trapmonger directly for his leadership. And it has not resulted in better negotiations or relations. If anything, it has hurt our countries.
Thank you, Mrs. Carlson. Mr. Romney, your rebuttal.
Lucky I just found my teeth. Because she is trying to sell us out. She wants to rely on her close and bizarre personal ties to the dictator of the forest. We can't allow someone like her to be leading our party. There is already enough interference from foreign nations as it is. She is directly linked to the man who has said that he wishes to be a global dictator. How can we trust that?
While we are moving on to foreign affairs, you segued it nicely into our next question. Immigration remains a polarizing issue. How would you address concerns about immigration while upholding the swamp's populist values?
Listen, my plan for immigration is very, very simple. It's the 3 R's. Respect, reform, and well, let's talk about these first 2. Reform. What does it mean to reform? It means to change for the better and to improve. We're going to work on improving it. And the first R is also very vital to our plan. We got to make it happen. And the 3rd R, repel. Repel. We need to repel the unwanteds. That's right. We need to repel because the swamp is only for swampians. Yes, we need to repel all the foreigners back to their countries. Repel, 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 repel. Oh, God. And then you gotta reform the holes. Yeah, reform. You gotta plug the holes. The holes, hole. You gotta fill in the meant to holes, the not meant to holes, the bad holes, and the good holes. There's, you gotta fill them. You gotta put yourself in those holes, and you gotta fix it. And we gotta repel. You gotta repel the unwanteds.
Thank you, Mr. Romney. Mrs. Carlson, your rebuttal.
Well, we all saw what happened there. He's a dithering fool, and he's too old for this. And he clearly had 3 R's planned out. He remembered 2 of them, and then went on a rambling rant about plugging holes. And he said the word hole so many times that I pray for you, really, that that's not going to be an unfortunate mistake on the internet. and you said meaning holes and important holes. It was disturbing, really, what it was. And then at the end, you made up a third R that clearly wasn't what you planned, and you went on a bit of a rambling spiel that teetered on being a neo-Nazi. I'm surprised that you don't have your whole message tattooed on your face at this point. Resist, reform, repel. It could fit right in on that horrible, horrible age line that you're developing right across your soul.
We can always expect a sick burn from you, can't we, Linda? All right, on our next question. Some argue that immigration is essential to rebuilding the economy, while others see it as a threat to national identity. Where do you stand, and how do you plan to bring opposing sides together?
Look, since joining the House, I have actually been very impactful on this issue. I was able to negotiate with the terrible Vank government to lower the levels of immigration that are coming into this country, and we are going to continue to fight for that. We understand that we are a shrinking nation and that in order to maintain our population, we will need to bring in a certain number of immigrants, but we need to negotiate what that number is, and we need to negotiate with these countries who they're sending in. We cannot accept criminal and looters and rapists into this country like we have been for so many years under the Vank government. It literally is a path to entry. As if you are a foreign prisoner, you can come and work as a prisoner in this country. We need to end this foreign prisoner loophole, because when they get out of prison, they're going to be a free, naturalized citizen, and we just don't want that in the forest. Ex-convicts running our government, that's happened 4 times. 4 elected officials are former convicts. Not immigrant ones, but former convicts. And of course, they are part of our caucus, and we need to work on expelling these people. And as leader, I will do my very best to help support people, because we understand that we need to support our small businesses with immigration. We need to support our economy with immigration, but we need to do it right. We have not been doing it right, and we need to fix it. We need to reform. That is true. We agree on that one particular point, not exactly on the repel part, but if mass immigrations do happen, then it'll only be because they're necessary. That's what I do. I fight what's necessary for you.
Thank you, Mrs. Carlson. Mr. Romney, your rebuttal.
It's simple. They're trying to replace us. We need to protect ourselves from all of our foreign enemies, the ones that come into our country illegally, the ones that threaten our sovereignty, and the ones that Tamara Vank is letting into our country with her criminal and illegal Alien Protection Act that she is trying to invoke and enforce upon our people. The swamp is for swampians and swampians only!
Okay, you do not need to shout. You are wearing a microphone, or there's two sticking out there. Anyway, the next question I have for you. The swamp faces increasing pressure from foreign nations. What is your strategy for protecting our sovereignty while maintaining strong international relationships?
The support of the COVID skibbity. Where did these hands come from?
Well, that was rambling and incoherent. I don't even think you know what you said. So, Linda Carlson, I hope you don't mind if we just skip the rebuttal, because there's nothing to rebut, and move on to our next question. Do you believe that the swamp should invest more in defense, diplomacy, or economic sanctions to address foreign threats? Why?
He says that I would surrender. That's not true. That is not true. I can tell you very plainly what we would do, and it's, okay. What is going on in this country is very deeply tragic, and we need to be worried about it. We need to be concerned. But we need not be more concerned than we have been already, because these are trying times, but we have fought through worse. You see, he says that I would bend over for William Trapmonger. That is not how it would go. We are close and personal friends. I have known him for decades, long before he was governor of Ohio, long before he's done all of these things that are unpopular today, and I know that I can negotiate him on these things. He might be my friend, and we disagree on many things, even though we have that close friendship. And we would not surrender. Linda Carlson does not surrender to anyone. I'll tell you what surrendering looks like. Surrendering looks like voting against your own party when you are challenged on it.
Thank you, Mrs. Carlson. Mr. Romney, your rebuttal.
Listen, Linda, I want you to honestly make the statement. Tell me that you will not allow William Trapmonger to influence our elections or invade and annex our country.
Well, we have a very good relationship, me and William Trapmonger, and we're going to work very hard, and we're going to do a lot of good things.
That is a damning non-answer.
That was a fairly strong rebuttal, Darius. I hope that you were able to, keep the energy up in this next question. What distinguishes you as the better candidate to represent the Populist Party and challenge Tamara Vank in the general election?
Well, first of all, I'm not a woman. And you don't want a gal fighting a gal, because the one you got, probably the one that will win. And look, the party that gets rid of their horrible woman candidate is going to win. We will have another male old president. And it's either going to be one of the other parties or it's going to be our party. We have to fight and we have to stay. But furthermore, I represent integrity and experience and tradition. I am a traditional progressive fascist. I support modern ideas of fascism and none of these neo-Nazi principles brought about by some of the crazed members of our party.
All right, as we are moving into this round, we are not going to be having a rebuttal. So next question is for you, Linda Carlson. Populism often thrives on grassroots support. How will you engage directly with the swamp in order to ensure their voices are heard throughout the campaign?
Well, we knew it was going to be an uphill battle. We knew that we were going to have a lot of tough challenges to get through. But what we need is we need the people. We need creatures and animals in this forest, and we need them to be working with us. We need to be getting ahead. I have worked with many people over the years, and I understand the importance of communication, the importance of talking to people. I have been around this country decades ago, and I've been around it again this time around now that I'm running to be your leader. People have the same concerns no matter who they are. People, they want their freedom back. They want the ability to choose. They want this crushing economic weight lifted off of their chest, and they would like the ability to travel again. They'd like the ability to have their leisure activities back. They can't do that right now. People are struggling. People who live paycheck to paycheck, it's not working for them. And we need some tax cuts and we need some better economic policy that's really going to help lift them out of it. And my platform speaks to that in a way that Darius Romney is out of touch. He's an elitist. He's establishment. He says that he's everything I'm not. But really, populism needs to come from the people. And he's coming from the top. He is everything that is wrong with our party. He is trying to organize downwards and fix a problem that he was created by. So how can you do that? We need to fight the establishment. We need to fight them. And I'm the only candidate standing on this stage who actually believes in the true values of populism.
All right, this is about your personal visions. If elected, Mr. Romney, to lead the Populist Party, what is the first policy that you would pursue and why?
No, I like my current policies. We'll probably pursue those.
All right, this one is for you, Mrs. Carlson. What does the phrase, for the people, for the swamp, mean to you, and how will it guide your leadership?
I will be a leader for the swamp, and that is all you need to know. For the people, for the swamp. Putting you first. At this point, Tamara Vank is more interested in keeping her job than she is keeping you safe and governing for you. She is governing on behalf of her party. And so will Darius Romney. He offers the party. I offer myself, and I offer you your voice. You can ask yourself, who would you rather trust? Someone who has spent their entire career doing this, or someone who has spent their career as a journalist in the media trying to report the truth to you, who will only be truthful for you as your president.
Thank you. Mr. Romney, in one sentence, could you describe the legacy that you would want to leave as the leader of the Populist Party?
Well, the legacy. Huh?
Okay, he seems to be quite frozen. I have to sneeze. Do I have to sneeze? I did have to sneeze. Mrs. Carlson, name one policy of Tamara Vank's that you agree with and one that you strongly oppose.
Obviously, I am against strongly the volcano tax, but a policy of hers that I'm a huge fan of is actually her criminalization of gay divorce. I do not think it goes far enough, however, and I think we need to go further, and we need to also ban gay marriage. Really, it was a good idea. You ban gay divorce and see how much they want it then. And it's proving very effective, but we need to go further with it.
Thank you so much for such a wonderful debate, both of you. Mr. Romney, we will now start with your closing statement.
Thank you. Tonight, we've tackled the big issues of facing the swamp. I'm here to tell you that hope is not lost. Our nation has weathered countless storms, and we can overcome this moment. Our crisis, too, if we choose bold leadership and a vision for the future. I believe the swamp. I believe the strength of our people, the richness of our land, and the spirit that is carrying us through every challenge. But belief isn't enough. We need action! Action to build our economy and protect our people and our land and restore pride in our nation. I've spent my life thriving in unforgiving environments, and I know to lead us through tough times together. Together, we can dismantle obstacles holding us back and create jobs to ensure fairness and secure safe and prosperous future for every swamp hand. The choice before us is clear. Would you rather have the woman or the man who's awesome? Let's take this opportunity to unite us as one people, move forward with courage and purpose. Thank you, and let's make the swamp stronger than ever.
Thank you, Mr. Romney. And on to you, Mrs. Carlson, for your closing statement.
Thank you. Tonight, you've heard two distinct visions for the future of the swamp. My vision is one of unity, resilience, and fairness. I believe in the power of everyday swampers to rise above challenges we face and build a nation that works for everyone, not just the wealthy and the powerful. I'm not here to promise miracles or to spin lofty words. I'm here to fight for real change, lower taxes, affordable living, and safer communities and government that listens to its people. I know the struggles you face because I've lived them, and I'll never stop fighting for every citizen of the swamp that has the opportunity to succeed. This is our moment to reclaim our nation from those who've forgotten who they serve. Together, we can chart a course toward a brighter, stronger future. Thank you, and may the swamp always thrive.
Well, thank you both for being such champion debaters and answering all of our questions so perfectly. And we'd like to thank especially the viewers at home for making this possible. I have been Skirts Mergdorfer, brother to Spurts Mergdorfer. If you find any trace of him, please tell me. I miss my brother dearly. And good night.